the 8th of July 2020, half past 10 p.m. Another update. Um, Things have been really bad, and the current situation is devastating, as I have already said many times. But this time it's really, really bad, and it's probably heading for even worse. Additionally, there's a new perspective of the new wave of COVID coming in autumn, um, possible influenza, and it just feels that this life, bad as it is, can end. Uh, Obviously, the spirit lives, but it can be even worse than it is from what it is now. Than it is now. So overall, I started thinking about taking a holiday, but it seems that if you are the queen and you have the queendom, the monarchy, not to confuse with any prostitution and other sick associations, um, then you can you cannot do it, or perhaps you can do it, but not when you are in the situation I am in, where I'm the only person actually living this spiritual value. So there's no one I could leave the queendom with, or at least not that I know of. And as the protectors of the pure value, uh, I can of course not risk it to leave it to anyone at all. So no vacation, no holiday. But then the situation has really squashed me this time, and I feel so overwhelmed that I must do something. I really must do something. I started learning French, German, and Spanish. Actually, Spanish, German, and French in that order. And it was a pleasure, as it used to be. Regardless of the circumstances, of course, I cannot feel pleasure because I'm under pain, which does not always feel as the physical pain, but is always present due to the spiritual situation. So I'm in pain all the time. It started in March 2016, and it's been there every single day since. So and whatever I do has this additional element to it. And I started Spanish, I started German, and I started French. But then I somehow felt I cannot, I must do something. There's too much trauma, there's too much anguish. And also, I can die in autumn. And there were so many things I wanted to do. And I crossed out Scientology from my Onestian school. So actually, I crossed it out from my queendom. So it's out of Onestia now. So I had to cross out my strategic plan because it was made the Scientology way. And I started sitting in front of a clean sheet of paper again and dropping down the things that are of importance for me. And they do create the queendom. So just for the sake of information, this is not in any order, but just for the sake of information, what's going to happen, and perhaps it should be happening till my birthday. For some time, I have always thought of my birthday as at the time I cannot um, live to live. um, so we'll see if I manage this year. Um, the 27th of September. I thought that I could give myself leisure within the areas I love. So another okay, another change. Um, but what really matters and what have been the issues. So I think that the greatest thing I could do would be writing this epic of the spiritual history of humankind. But it so happens that today I have gone into another I mean, not I have gone into another war, but the war on the other side had resulted in me making another declaration. That is the declaration concerning color people. They are all niggers, which is obviously a total counter action against all that my queendom represents, because my queendom represents the spirit, and the color people are actually key to the creation of the value of the of value, not quality. This is not business. Of the value I really want. So, but then if they are at war with me, I believe that I cannot act otherwise. So this is this has become quite complex. But nonetheless, I can perhaps approach it from the other side, from the higher level, where there's the spirit first, and then the spirit has taken forms. And only when the spirit has taken the form, we can talk about colors. So, back to the spirit, back to God or the divine quality. And this is where it starts. And here on the planet Earth, we have manifestations, and what is between. Well, actually, there's life, first of all. But we have this additional element of culture, which is sacred books, for instance. So everybody who has been following me knows it already, but for the sake of clarity, we have Buddhism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, or actually the way I normally put it, well, the way I normally put it is Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, and Hinduism. So Judaism and Hinduism meet. But the way I put it now is the other way around, I think, or differently. Anyway, it's Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism as the beginning of the spiritual history of humankind for me, in terms of opening it. Because obviously, in that order that I create, all those pre-established religion, spirituality is valid. So, which comes up in my Church of the Most Sacred Virgin. I must work on the name, but this church cherishes and honors Artemis as much as it cherishes and others and honors Virgin Mary. Of course, the virgins belong here. So this is for orientation, and with that come languages also. So Tibetan, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, And with languages, obviously I will continue Spanish, mi amor, Español Latino, uh, not to confuse with whatever sexuality, or even worse, the debasement of prostitution, pornography, etc. This is the noble kingdom. Then there's French, and I'm not sure if I'll go into Francophony. I see what comes out from French. Latin and the ancient world. And there's the whole opening in German, which goes further, because this is the great cultural project in German. So Austria is quite important here, which is why Hungarian is close to it. And there's Italian. So I will probably do what I want every day without any order to it, and I will see what will come out from it in the end. So these are languages, right? Then the England, my England, so the revision. Of course, the spiritual history of humankind includes history. So my England is about history because I started studying history. So the history of England, history of the United Kingdom, and Shakespeare comes in. But in that order, Shakespeare belongs to the code of Shakespeare, which is quite different from its Englishness only. It's universal. But then it reflects back on the United Kingdom through the possibility of it being the beginning of the empire. So we can think of it and wonder if the British Empire was not created by Shakespeare actually, or through Shakespeare, via Shakespeare, or with his contribution. And then there are other things that had been on my mind. So this is it starts with Tudors, but then I need to arrive at Tudors. So to appreciate Tudors, I need to know what was earlier. And then at the time, obviously, comes the big question concerning the church, and it also connects with my experience in Poland. So altogether we arrive at the Roman Catholic Church, and one of the things that I was to do was to review the doctrines. So I need to go back to Maya Rostowska is pretending it's her again. No, it's not her. She wishes she was. She wishes she were me, or she were at that level. She's not. She's below me. She's not. She cannot reach that level because she's not truthful. So this is quite simple. You cannot live at that level if you are not the truth, and it is not something you talk about. It is something you live or you do not. So the revision of the doctrines and generally rethinking of that. Of course, it has to do with the Bible. I have right now. I have the Bible, the Holy Bible, in Polish, English, and German, and I also have a Bible in Russian, but it's for children, so I'm not even sure if these are the texts or if these are simplified versions. That was more for Russian. Oh yes, I forgot to mention Russian. philosophy in Russian. So I started my studies at the Pontifical University of John Paul II. I started studying philosophy, and I expected something totally different from what we were offered. Apart from all the crime that has taken place since, and because I went to study them. So that is another thing, Russian and philosophy in Russian, the development of thought in Russian, including my thought. And that goes together with my philosophy, which is Onestianism, and the part of it is New Romanticism. So that is the revision of the original Romanticism, which takes us to literature. And once we go to literature, that's what I wanted to do in life. Well, when I was in the primary school, I decided I wanted to be a writer, a poet and a writer, and I do have it to my poetry, my essays, my stories. But then, as a professional development, since the very beginning, from the very beginning of my studies, I wanted to be to stay at the university and to teach English literature. So actually, perhaps I should approach English literature and see how I would do it. After all, that is what I wanted to do. And once we are there, there's The Tempest. So when I wrote my MA thesis on Othello, I said that I mentioned that there was a plan of writing another one on The Tempest, where life would not be a war. Once we are at philosophy and literature, which creates philosophy too, there's the Polish thought. So departing from Poland as I am, I need to make use of this, of the knowledge of the Polish language, and especially for the Polish Romantics. And speaking of literature, the first MA thesis I was to write was to be a program for teaching literature with my own methodology. So this comes back to, after all, we are talking about the end of my life approaching. So these are the main areas. Just to inform in the context of all that has been happening and the departure from the strategic plan. So I cannot take a holiday from my queendom, but perhaps I can devote more time to my pleasures, and devote it not by any plan or duty, but as I wish, randomly. Thank you for your attention. Agnieszka Beata Magdalena Rojek. Agnieszka Justitia, the first of Honestia, the noble queen. I've just noticed I haven't mentioned Norwegian, and perhaps some things are missing here too. By the way, a start for a novel could be: lucky were those who could live the depression. You times don't allow anything personal.